go to church? All right, so now when you go to church, have you ever learned in church, because all this right here, this is biblical. Have you ever learned in church that you're from the tribe of Ephraim? What do they teach you in church? Pull some verses, and then they tell you a story for 3 hours about something that had nothing to do with that verse, right? Now, if I was you go to church on Sunday, that's another thing of deceit, right? Now, does anybody put a gun to your head and drag you and make you go to church? Someone, you live with your mom, so your mom makes you go to church. Now, is anybody putting a gun to your mom's head and making her go to church? No, she's doing that willingly. So she's willingly inviting the deceit. Children that will not hear the law of the Lord. It's the law of the Lord that's going to help us out. Hey, brother, real quick, before you walk by, read that again.
Children that will not hear the law of the Lord.
All right, so you believe in God?
What is that?
So you believe you're one of God's children? All right, so go back to the top. Listen to what God says about his children. All right, read that.
That this is a rebellious people, lying children.
So God said we're rebellious people, lying children. First of all, what does rebellious mean? You ever heard of a rebel without a cause, or a rebel?
Yes.
A rebel is the root word to rebellious.
Right.
So if you rebel, that means you go against, right? So God says we're a rebellious people, meaning we're going against something. Go ahead.
That this is a rebellious people.
This is people that go against something. Go ahead.
Lying children.
Lying children. He's addressing us because we're his children. Take a look at this sign right here, bro. Look at this right here. If you didn't know, because the church is not going to teach you, all right, these are God's children right here. Right? So when you look at this sign right here, you said you're one of God's children. Which one of these children are you? Now remember, as Ephraim, that means your father is Puerto Rican. Okay? So everybody on this side is God's children. Now listen to what God's saying about us. Go ahead. Hey, brother, hey, what's your boy's name?
PJ.
PJ. Tell PJ to come over here too, man. See, this is rebellious, right? Because right now, I'm sure, did you know that you was from the tribe of Ephraim? Alright, so now this is knowledge that's coming out, right? So these are things that you gotta know. But if you don't want to know it, you're rebelling against it. Go ahead.
Children that will not hear the law of the Lord.
So these are children, we're children that will not hear the law of the Lord. Why is that important to hear the law of the Lord? What's your name, bro? Gideon and PJ, right? PJ, why is it important to hear the law of the Lord? It gives us wisdom, okay? What do you say, Jaden?
I think it's a strong word.
Let me ask you this. You ever heard that phrase that history repeats itself? Alright, so when you said you get wisdom, if you believe in the laws of the Lord is going to tell you about history so it doesn't repeat itself.
Right.
So now, PJ, Gideon told me that he's Ephraim. Right? Everybody on here is God's children. So he's Ephraim. What are you, according to this right here? You're Judah. Alright, so we got Judah and Ephraim, right? Now you guys are God's children. Right? So you know what happened to God's children in history? You know what happened to so-called Puerto Ricans and so-called African Americans? Look at that. Look at that. That's history, right? That's real history. So do you think that can repeat itself? Why not?
Oh, it can.
Oh, it can, right? But in order for it not to repeat itself, we got to know what we did for that to even happen to us in the first place.
Right.
Because that didn't happen to everybody, right? This only happened to God's people.
Right.
Right? And that's because we didn't follow the laws of the Lord. So finish that off, and I want to show you how this is what happened to us because we didn't do the laws of the Lord. Go ahead, finish that.
Which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things. Speak unto us smooth things.
Now, is the truth, if I'm telling you the truth, am I doing you right or am I doing you wrong? I'm doing you right, right? So it says again, prophesy unto us what?
Prophesy. Speak unto us smooth things. Prophesy deceits.
Okay, so some people want to prophesy deceit. Deceit is what? Lies, right? Now, our people, because we're rebellious children, we accept that. You go to church? Alright, so now, when you go to church, have you ever learned in church, because all this right here, this is biblical. Have you ever learned in church that you're from the tribe of Ephraim? Okay, so what do they teach you in church? Pull some verses, and then they tell you a story for 3 hours about something that had nothing to do with that verse, right? Now, if I was to go to church on Sunday, that's another thing of deceit, right? Now, does anybody put a gun to your head and drag you and make you go to church? Someone, you live with your mom, so your mom makes you go to church. Now, is anybody putting a gun to your mom's head and making her go to church? No, she's doing that willingly. So she's willingly inviting the deceit. Because you see this right here, you said it yourself, slavery. Did you know that slavery was in the Bible? Alright, so I'm gonna show you that today, right? Now, hopefully, you won't continue the tradition of our people being a rebellious people who just want to hear smooth things, right? Because right now, I'm not about to tell you nothing smooth. You know what I'm saying? Well, it is smooth if you take it that way, but I'm about to tell you the real rough stuff. Right. What's really going on, why this really happened to us, why we still in the hood, why we broke, why we the first to get fired but the last to get hired on the job, why our mothers and our sisters and our aunties and grandmothers and stuff is on Section 8 and on welfare, right? Why brothers can't get good jobs. I'm about to tell you all that, and all that's coming from the Bible. Go ahead, finish that off, and then we're going to go to Deuteronomy 28.
Walt's got the mic.
Yeah, 15. Right here. Check this out. Check this out, man. I know you got to go, but check this out. Did you get a flyer? All right, go ahead, read that.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
Stop right there. So when it says it shall come to pass, do you know what that means? So whenever you're reading in the Bible, again, this is what your pastor should be teaching you. Instead of reading a couple of verses that he liked, that he memorized from his school, he should be reading you the Bible in its entirety, right? So that you can understand. So every time you read in the Bible, it shall come to pass, that's just old English for saying, yo, it's about to go down. So this is saying what's about to go down, go ahead, read.
To observe, to the way.
Start from the top.
But it shall come to pass,
it's about to go down.
If thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
You know what it means to hearken? So hearken, H-E-A-R-K-E-N, hear. So it's going down. If you don't hear what your God is saying to you, right? Go ahead.
To observe, to do his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day.
So God gave us commandments that we're supposed to follow. So it's about to go down. If you don't listen to the commandments that I'm giving you this day, go ahead.
That all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So they said curses is going to come upon us and overtake us. Right. So now, in slavery, look at this, look at the picture. Do you think that for our people, that was a curse or that was a blessing? It was a curse that our people went into slavery, right? And it happened because we didn't listen to the voice of the Lord our God. So I told you that going into slavery was in the Bible. I'm going to jump up and I'm going to show you exactly that it is in there. Go ahead.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
So now it says the Lord's going to bring you into Egypt again. Do you remember when we were in Egypt? Right? Because the Bible says that we are our forefathers, right? We get regenerated. So our spirits were here before, and we was back in the day, right? So now it says it's going to bring us into Egypt again. So when were these people right here in Egypt? Do you know? You ever heard of, you know about Moses, right? So what can you tell me about Moses? What do you know about Moses? He freed the slaves, right? So who were the slaves though? Right here. These were the slaves, right? So now, that's why we started with history repeating itself, right? Because first, these were their names, and they were the slaves. So Moses had to free them, right? So now, when we're reading in Deuteronomy, is what happened as Moses freed the slave. So Moses is telling them, look, y'all lucked up. We got out of slavery this time, and not just y'all, because Moses was one of us. I know they portrayed Moses as a white man, but Moses wasn't a white man. Moses was a black man. That's right. Black as PJ. Slacker. Alright? Now, what it says is, so now Moses is telling us as he parted the Red Sea, because when he parted the Red Sea, we walked out of it. We walked out of Egypt, out of slavery, right? So go ahead, read.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
Now, Egypt is just a Greek word meaning bondage, right? Because the landmass over there, Africa, that was named after a white man. Egypt just means bondage because it's Greek language. You know how white people do. They like to take stuff and make it their own and act like they invented it. Act like it's theirs. Even though we invented everything, right? Go ahead.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
So it says we're going to go back into Egypt again with ships. Now, what did Moses do for us to get out of slavery? He did what? He parted the Red Sea. So the sea, ships are in the sea, right? So if he parted the Red Sea so that the water's on this side and the water's on that side, what was in the middle? Land. So we were able to walk. But he said this time we're going to go back again in ships. So everybody on here, because they didn't hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, history happened again and they end up here. Back into slavery again on ships. Go ahead.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee.
So he's saying, look, it's going to go down just like I'm telling you right now if y'all don't listen to the voice of the Lord thy God. Go ahead.
Thou shalt see it no more again.
He said we was going to see our homeland never again. So we all came from the west coast of Africa, right? That's where we was at. You ever been back to the west coast of Africa? How about you? So it's safe to say that you never seen it again, right? Because the Bible said, Moses told us that you was never going to see your homeland again. Right. Now, back then, when he parted the Red Sea, and they left out of Egypt, they went to Israel. It was right there. They could walk back. He said, this time you're going to be ships. Ships is the slave ships that we went on. Go ahead.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
They said when we got off those slave ships, we were going to be sold unto our enemies. You see slave auction blocks, right? And on the auction blocks, what happened? We were sold onto our enemies.
What is a nation? Nation is men leading by example.